What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the premiere episode of our daily climate update. Today's climate update is for Friday, June 23rd, 2023. In this new series, we're going to give you climate news, not only just in the United States, but news stories from around the world, and we're going to talk about active weather events, not only in the United States, sometimes around the world. If there's a typhoon in the Western Pacific, we will talk about it. Starting off today, Texas, and if you live in the South, much of the South right now, you are experiencing some incredible heat. It got a late start this year compared to last year. Last year, remember, it started up in early May, but have no fear. It has been very, very hot these past few days. In fact, in places like Laredo, Del Rio, and San Angelo and Junction, temperatures were the highest ever recorded, while Corpus Christi logged an all-time high heat index of 125 degrees. Forecasters warn that no relief is in sight this month, and we will actually take a look at the temperatures down there. The same thing is ongoing in Mexico right now as well. Mexico is continuing to see some heat that is breaking records too, and it's causing a record demand on their energy strain. Their power grid is right now reaching record demand because, when it's that hot, you have to run the air conditioner, and a lot of people are doing that, and it's really straining their power grid. Now, for this one, we're just going to read the headline here. 53% of parents say climate change affects their decision to have more kids, and this is in India, Mexico, Singapore, and the United States. It says here, 53% of parents in India, Mexico, Singapore, the United States, and the United Kingdom say climate change impacts their decision to have more kids. That's very interesting. I mean, climate change, it's real, folks. Maybe it's human related, maybe it's partially climate cycling. Whatever you want to believe, that's fine, as long as you're believing that something is definitely going on. I mean, things are a little bit out of the ordinary, don't you agree? Storms are becoming more violent. Heat waves are becoming more extreme, as you just saw down in the central U.S. and Mexico. They're dealing with some extreme heat right now. And it's not just here in the United States. Matter of fact, listen to this. Europe warming twice as fast as other continents, warns the WMO. WMO stands for the World Meteorological Organization, and they're saying that Europe right now is leading the way when it comes to heat. And you know what? That's probably true, because the last couple of years have been extremely hot. There have been record-breaking heat waves in a large chunk of Europe in the last couple of years. Last year was just really extreme. All right, let's take a look at some current weather happenings across the United States. Well, you can see here excessive heat warnings and heat advisories. They continue down in Texas and even portions of New Mexico and Arizona, which in these areas you actually have red flag warnings that are up. And there's an excessive heat watch that is now up for southeast Arizona, so that is relatively interesting. And you can see here there is also a severe weather threat that's going on today across portions of Oklahoma and northern Texas, where there already is a severe thunderstorm watch. There is flash flood concerns today in Florida and in southern Georgia, and there is flooding concerns today across portions of Montana. More on that in a moment. Let's take a look at the latest satellite picture. And you can see there's multiple storm systems that are going on. You have this system across the Ohio Valley and across the east and the mid-Atlantic. That continues to spin. Then you have this system up in the Rockies and Northern Plains. That's spinning as well. This system in the east, it's going to slowly make its way northward. And then, unfortunately, if you're looking for a break in the action, maybe say Philadelphia, New York City, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, it's not going to happen. Eventually, this next system has to come in as well. And it's going to be slow to do so because we're still in this blocking pattern that is in place up northeast of New England, and it's being stubborn. It's being very slow. Let's take a look at some radar here, and you can see there are some storms that are ongoing across Oklahoma. We already have showers ongoing across the Dakotas. That's going to exit, and another area of storms is going to develop, and some of that's going to turn severe. More on that in a moment. And taking a look here at radar in the east, here's that low that's spinning. You can see there's moisture that's pluming up ahead of it, and the dew points are high. I live here in Philadelphia. Our dew point is now up to 65. It's been rising all morning. Probably by day's end, we will hit a 70-degree dew point. Washington, D.C., you're probably already close to 70-degree dew points. So any showers and thunderstorms that develop could contain heavy rainfall in this area. Look at the Gulf Coast. New Orleans, you have some shower and thunderstorm activity that is just starting to exit your area. Taking a look at the Storm Prediction Center, as you can see here, there's that slight risk down in Texas. There's already a severe thunderstorm watch for the eastern portion of it. Then there is a large enhanced risk today for portions of the northern plains where a tornado threat, it's there. There'll be isolated tornadoes. There's a wind threat. Hail is going to be a big threat, but also flash flooding is going to be a threat as well. And I do think there will definitely be watches later on, which will eventually translate into warnings. Check this out. There is a moderate risk of excessive rainfall for portions of Montana today. And you can see here, Montana almost into Wyoming a little bit. There is, going to be very heavy rainfall. And there could be flooding concerns with this. There's also a slight risk that continues into portions of Nebraska, South Dakota, and even portions of North Dakota. Also a slight risk of excessive rainfall across portions of Florida today. Moving on now to the tropical situation. We do have two tropical systems we're watching. Brett, which is expected to continue west and eventually fall apart. Cindy, which as of right now, I'm going to show you the track for Cindy. Cindy is not a threat to any major land. However, any of these islands along here, you could see increased wave activity because it is a tropical storm. It's probably going to peak around 65, 70 miles per hour. I don't think it's going to get to a hurricane, but it's definitely something that we are watching at this time. And you can see here, it is not terribly impressive. Brett and Cindy both are not going to be a big weather maker, but more so the fact that we're into El Nino now, and already we are up to the letter C. And look at this back here. We have some more waves coming off of Africa. Not terribly concerning at the moment, but maybe something we have to watch down the line. It's unusually active for June, and that's the point that needs to be taken here. Let's take a look at the latest RGM model. We'll show you everything that's going on here. And you can see in the east, these showers will continue today. An explosion of thunderstorms occurs in the northern plains this afternoon. I think the enhanced risk, I definitely think that was a good call for today. Hail is a big threat. Wind is a big threat. Almost wouldn't surprise me if there was an upgrade to a moderate risk. If that shower activity could clear out faster from the morning and you see more sunshine, a moderate risk, it could be needed. But look at this. This is really impressive for tomorrow afternoon. Look at this rainfall on the northwest side of this low. That is really intense, heavy rainfall. I mean, you could be seeing 2 to 4, maybe isolated 5-inch rain amounts. Let's take a look at total accumulated precip. Look at that. You see some really heavy rainfall in the Dakotas. Rainfall amounts across the east. This is only showing upwards of isolated inch amounts in Pennsylvania. Honestly, I think it could be higher than that. You could see isolated 2 to 3 inch amounts if training gets going. As you saw on radar, there already is shower and thunderstorm activity pushing northward. Then there is going to be another round that forms tomorrow, and look at this. As we head through the 84-hour time frame, you can see it's fairly wet in the northeast. So that discussion of drought that I was talking about, yeah, that's being thrown out the window now. We are now into a wet pattern in the northeast. Let's take a look at the GFS. Take a look at the longer range. And you can see there's that system up in the plains. And unfortunately, that system eventually is going to get caught over the Great Lakes and the northeast, and at least into the middle of next week. Ahead of that, you're going to see another plume of high humidity and dew points. And it could generate some heavy showers and thunderstorms, perhaps an isolated flash flood threat. And this continues into Tuesday, and even look at this, Wednesday evening. This system is still stuck over the northeast. Parts of the northeast may not clear out until late next week. But also something else I want to show you. Let's go to the North Atlantic picture here. And yes, remember Cindy? Here's Cindy right here, right? Watch what happens with Cindy. Cindy continues west, it weakens, then it tries to get going again. Now, it's not going to impact the U.S. I mean, it stays pretty far to the east, at least at this time frame. Reminder, this is 198 hours out. Something we'll have to watch. Could it get itself going again? Could it rejuvenate? Could it become a hurricane down the long run and maybe affect Nova Scotia? Something we'll have to watch. Again, not a certainty, not 100% likely, but just something to keep an eye on in the back of our mind as we head down the line. As we also head into the following weekend, which would technically be 4th of July weekend. Look at the rest of the country. Quiet finally in the west, but look at the east and southeast. Yes, more shower and thunderstorm activity, and yeah, eventually that's going to work its way into the northeast. So suddenly we are finding ourselves in a very active pattern in the east. Let's talk about temperatures. Today is going to be another extremely hot day across portions of Texas and the South and the Four Corners region, at least the southern portion of the Four Corners region. Look at this. Places like Dallas, you come down to Houston, upper 90s to near 100 degrees. Austin, Texas, very hot for you. How about tomorrow? Look at this. Widespread 100s across Texas, even Dallas tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if this is wrong and you get close to 100. You go to El Paso, Texas, heat index is just well over 100. Let's go to Sunday. Continuing, look at this. These are temperatures. This is not heat index. This is the European model. On Sunday afternoon is showing Central Texas 111 degrees. Heat indexes at that point will probably be over 120. So this is extremely dangerous, folks. And look, it just continues day after day after day. Look at this. Wednesday near Dallas or just west of Dallas, 114 degrees being projected by the European model. But look at the northeast U.S. It's relatively below average because you have that upper level system that is going to be spinning and it's going to be very slow to leave the picture. And yeah, below average temperatures continue in the northeast for the foreseeable future. Beyond next week, that may start to change and maybe some warmer weather will come in. But look in the south. We're at the end of the European model now. And it's still just record heat in the south and even southwest U.S. Taking a look at the drought monitor. Yes, there are still some drought concerns up in the northeast, and I'm refreshing this here, make sure it's up to date. Yep. The drought concerns, I mean, they do continue in the northeast, but I think 60 to 70% of this is going to be erased within the next 2 weeks just because of the wet pattern we're finding ourselves in. Yes, not everyone is going to see showers and thunderstorms each day, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be enough that we're going to see significant improvement. Where I think things could start getting interesting and perhaps a concern could be increasing again, Texas. You had some early season rain. Fine, but now you're seeing this extreme heat, and any activity you do see in terms of rainfall, it's really hit or miss. So with this extreme heat, your concerns for drought, they are definitely going to start to increase again. The central and northern plains, I think some more relief is on the way. The Great Lakes, again, I think you could see some more relief. I don't think you're going to see as much relief as the Northeast, but part of this picture could get a little bit better. Look at California. That's the best California has looked in a very long time. Pacific Northwest, you continue to have some problems. Nothing terribly major, and I think things are just going to stay stable at this time. Florida? Look at Florida. The drought in Florida, I'm going to zoom this in. The drought in Florida is almost gone. There's a little bit of concern left, but I think the rest of that's going to be erased. You're coming into a wet pattern as well. Taking a look at days 1 through 7 precipitation. Northern Plains, very wet pattern for you. Very wet pattern from the North Carolina through the Mid-Atlantic, right on into the Northeast. I mean, you're talking isolated 2 to 4 inch rainfall amounts, maybe isolated higher where training sets up. 2 to 4 inches across all the northern plains. Isolated higher amounts where heavy rainfall sets up. Southern Florida is the wettest portion of Florida. And taking a look at the temperature outlook. Yeah, I agree with this. Well above average for portions of Texas, slightly above average for the Northwest, and in between where we see this active pattern, below average temperatures, and slightly above average in Maine. It's going to take longer for this wet pattern to get to you, but once it does, I definitely think even you will be slightly below average. I know this is saying above here on the 8 to 14 day outlook. We'll have to see if that actually happens. Below average continues across the Great Lakes and Mid-Atlantic, with a below average wedge here in between across Nebraska and portions of Wyoming and Montana and Colorado, well above average across all the South, and finally the West Coast too. Yes, your temperatures go above average. Taking a look here at 6 to 10 day precipitation, you can see above average precipitation for a large portion of the United States, with again exceptions to Texas and the Four Corners region, where I expect drought conditions may start to become a concern again. As we get to the 8 to 14 day precip outlook, you can see from the Mississippi River all the way to the East Coast, above average to slightly above average precipitation expected, and we're back to below average precipitation in the West Coast. Yeah, that seems really strange saying that because you had such a long period of wet conditions across California, but yep, near normal to below average precipitation is expected for you. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's climate update and U.S. weather outlook. We'll have another climate update again tomorrow. If you enjoy this new series that we have started, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all again next time.